How did you realise that you were a carer, and how easy was it for you to get support when you realised?
The Carers Trust told me back in 2012. I bumped into someone from Carers Trust, or Solihull Carers Centre as it was, and told them what I was doing for my mum, and they pointed out to me that I was a carer. And at the time I didn't believe them and felt like a complete fraud. And at that time I didn't really need any help. You know, mum was still independent and managing with daily visits from me, a bit of help with the shopping, taking her here and there in the car, going to pick her up when she ran out of steam, Solihull. But really that was it. And then it was a very gradual sort of the caring role taking over more and more and more, and then starting going to the groups and the meetings to get more help and support from peers and from wherever I could get it.
Yeah, I think that's an important little description of it, because I stopped work to help Mum for a while, and that's what I was. I was a helper. I didn't recognise the term carer in its official definition, and I sort of moved in to look after her. Then she had a big stroke, well, a massive stroke, and she was in hospital and not expected to come out. And when she did, I thought, well, I better stay a bit longer and make sure she can get back onto her feet. And that was 16 years ago, so I stayed for longer than I expected. But it was like you, Martin. Suddenly you realise you're not a helper; you're actually a carer. And it was when I went to an open meeting, and there's a Carers Trust table there. I mean, there are other organisations. I went to the Carers Trust because they gave me the answers that I wanted and felt were very useful. So I think I realised I was a carer when I recognised the fact I was not going to go back to work again. I was needed more at home looking after Mum than I was at work. So I gave up. I gave up my home. I gave up my job. I gave up my income, and that's not a sob story. That's just statement of fact, and I'm happy that I did it. I haven't got a problem looking after my mum. She looked after me for enough years, so you know that's it. I think it's just suddenly realising that I was going to spend 24/7 with Mum and not part of that day at work.
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? It's that point where it ceases to just be sort of, oh, it's my mum or my dad or whatever, the things that you do as, you know, for a loved one anyway, to the point where it actually encroaches on your life, your work, your income, your ability to go and see your friends, to go on holiday. And that can happen very suddenly for some people, if it's a stroke or something serious like that. Or like me, it can happen just very, very gradually over a long, long time.
Yeah.
And in that scenario, you don't always realise that it's happening because you just adapt as you go along, and you don't realise how much you've adapted.
Yeah, I think it's when you consider the option of going away and realising what an impact that will have on the domestic situation, you realise then that you've got a proper job called a carer, an unpaid job called a carer.
For me, I think my situation kind of like was a bit different because my mum was having treatment for cancer and things, and the situation was that somebody needed to be there for her and do these things and take her to the hospital and everything more. And I was working part-time at the time. But at the end of the day, I just thought, my mum needs me and I want to look after my mum. And basically we worked it out that, you know, financially I took the hit, and obviously there's a carer's allowance, which, you know, helps, but it's not really a living allowance, I would say. But then I suppose I kind of went into it straight away with the carer's hat on, because that's what I knew I was doing. But in my own mind, I was looking after my mum because I didn't know how long she'd got, and I just needed to do as much as I could to make that time as comfortable and, I suppose, gentle as it could be. But then, as you say, once you're in that zone, you kind of, I can't even remember how I found out about the Carers Trust, for example. I don't know whether I Googled it, somebody gave me it, I can't remember at all. But I reached out obviously to them and then joined the coffee mornings. And I realised that was a space for me to be me, rather than me, the carer, or me looking after somebody. And it was something that I found really useful, because I don't know about you, but you feel that, not that you're not worthy, I don't mean that at all, but everything's about your loved one who is ill, because they're ill. I mean, my mum was terminal, so everyone that spoke to us, obviously it was all, how's your mum doing? And that's completely the right thing. But I think as time goes on, you sometimes feel a bit like, not that you're invisible, but you just feel a bit like you're just on the sidelines of it, and you just want to make sure that they've got everything they need. And I think it's just, I mean, the word carer, I think it's not, I don't know whether the word's right, but recognised enough as what it is, because for some people it is literally doing everything for someone. I was lucky my mum didn't need the whole package of care, so we were incredibly blessed despite the terminal side of it. So but then once you are a carer, you realise there are some little support networks out there, and it is useful. It's nice to know you're not alone. That was what I found, because when you're in your own world doing the care and being the carer, you forget there's other people doing the same thing. And then when we all sat and chatted, it's just nice to know if other people feel the same feelings.
Yeah.
I think that comment that's been made about taking a financial hit, you don't realise that when you first become a carer. I mean, you lose your income and they give you what they laughingly call a carer's allowance to live on. And one thing that surprised me, well, two things that surprised me. One is how pitifully small it is to look after somebody, and if you have no other income, it's just impossible. But the second thing, which I didn't realise happened for a year afterwards, is that when I started taking my pension, they stopped my carer's allowance, because I didn't need a carer's allowance anymore because I was getting a pension. So
But you're still being a carer?
So does that mean I have to stop being a carer now? I mean, I can't understand the logic of any of it. If I decided that my mother was too much of a burden for me to handle, and being a son looking after a mother is not as easy as a daughter looking after a father, for other reasons, not just the emotional reasons. I could have put her in a home, and I could have put her in a government-run establishment, which would have cost them thousands a week, rather than the 28 pence they gave me, whatever it was they started off at. And then I think carers need to recognise the fact that it's going to be a financial hit. New carers, sorry.
Yeah, it's not easy to do it, is it? I was incredibly lucky that for the circumstances we were in, I could do it. But in other circumstances, I probably couldn't have done it. And then I'd have felt awful that I couldn't give my mum that support. I know not everyone's in that boat that can do it, because if you've got a lot more commitments and things, it's just really difficult. But as you say, it works out. I mean, to be a carer, you're supposed to be a carer for 35 hours or more. But if you think about £67, is it something like £1 an hour or something stupid, or £1 something an hour? That is disgusting, really, isn't it, in fairness? But we don't do it for the money, we do it for the love.
Agreed.